we are sailing today. We'd like to advise passengers that the stern door is closed and the vessel is secured for sea. We ask you to please be seated whilst the vessel is berthing and unberthing, and when instructed to do so. The announcement.
Hello and welcome to Scran, the podcast passionate about the Scottish food and drink scene. I'm your host, Rosalind, and on this episode I took a trip to Arran to learn a little more about food and drink production on the island. My first stop was at Lagg Distillery, where Fred Baumgärtner, brand home ambassador and head tour guide, showed us around this ultra-modern distillery set atop a cliffside with the most spectacular views.
But the big reason they took the risk of sailing in this weather was the biggest danger they faced were the revenue cutters from the excise.
From Lagg, I travelled a short distance to Bellevue Farm, where I met Agnes Madden, who helps out there, and Donald Currie, who's a sixth-generation farmer to work this land. I learned more about their traditional farm and how they've adapted in recent years to work with Lagg, as well as welcoming visitors to stay and experience life on the farm.
I grow the barley for the distillery and I get the byproduct back, and it can go in the fields as well to help as a cycle, isn't it? You know, it's
yeah, kind of the way it probably always was.
That's right.
Finally, where else but to James of Arran? The famous Scottish chocolate brand was my final port of call before heading back to the mainland. I met James McCleary there, who told me all about his business.
A lot of these are really traditional, so it goes way back to traditional Belgian chocolates. Originally, each shape would have been a specific flavour, so people would have known, no matter what shop they went to, that was a strawberry or that was a cherry or whatever.
We trust you have a pleasant journey with us today, and thank you for your attention.
My name is Fred Baumgärtner. I'm the brand home ambassador and head tour guide at Lagg. And yeah, welcome to Lagg. Really the south end of Arran where we are today, that's the real heartland of distilling in the island. Because back in the 18th century, that's where all the farms were, the most agricultural bit of the island. Farms have people, people grow barley, barley is what you turn into whiskey. So this is where it all happened. So with Lagg coming back, we're kind of revitalising, giving a new energy to that history that came before us, and it's kind of a forgotten history as well, because we didn't have whiskey until 1985 when we reopened La Cranza. It's a fantastic opportunity to see everything that came before us. Lagg did exist 1825 to 1845. It was pretty stop-start, but it is roughly contemporary to your distilleries in Campbelltown, even in Ailsa. Just it never really succeeded like they did, and we'll look at that in a wee bit of detail.
We've edited the wonderful Arran water tour to give you just a taste of what you can expect if you visit the distillery.
There were three sort of original legal distilleries at that point. There was one in Glenshant in the back of Berwick, and there was one next to the high school in Lamlash, the White House Woods. Both of those opened somewhere in the 1790s, and we don't know when they closed. We essentially know nothing about them beyond they exist. They completely utterly failed. And it was only this distillery, the Lagg, 1825, who was a little bit more successful, but successful in massively relative terms. So it had the backing of the Duke of Hamilton, and at this point in time, he is the landowner. He basically owns all of Arran. So he gave them a little bit of support, he gave them rent abatements, and he encouraged them. He wanted to encourage some legal distilling. We'll see later on why he did that. And it was set up as a cooperative of three local South End individuals. One chap was called Captain Charles McAllister Shannon, former army veteran, and he had the rent of Bennecarrigan Farm, which is the farm you'll pass going that way. Not a farm today, but the big house is still there. A guy called Matthew McKinnon, he had Clachig Farm, which is the farm on this side. It's actually the field that we bought the distillery from. And a guy called John Spears. He was the landowner of the Lagg Hotel, or the Lagg Inn at that time. So you've basically got two of Arran, two of the South End's biggest farmers, and you have the guy that owns the local pub. So they all got together to build a distillery, because they could take that barley they grew, turn it into whiskey, and make a little bit more money from it, and they also had the pub to flog it in, basically. So that's how it began. However, the environment didn't help legal distilling, but it was really, really good for the other kind, for illicit distilling. And illicit distilling absolutely flourished on Arran, much later than it did elsewhere in Scotland. And it was called the Arran water, It's what they used to make here. That's the whisky. And apparently in the 19th century, the Arran water was regarded as one of the best whiskies you could get in Scotland and was known as the Burgundy of whisky. Arran Gaelic song, and it's from World War I, and it's a story about a group of soldiers drowning out in the Firth of Clyde in a shipwreck. So we mentioned Campbelltown a little bit downstairs. I just want to point out Campbelltown is directly ahead there, so you can see Devar Island, and then Campbelltown Harbour is just behind it. So you can see how close it is. As the crow flies, it's pretty much right over there. And Campbelltown crops up in the story quite a lot because of the really strong connections between. So there are really kind of two groups. So one, you had your illicit distillers, and your second group was the smugglers. And these are what I describe as cowboys. So you could really go to like the metaphor of pirates, but really I think it's more like the Wild West. So you have kind of untamed frontier landscape here in the South End, and you have groups, posses. It was usually young men at this point, and they were quite a respected figure within the community. They were seen as quite wild, quite lawless. But 1770, a guy called John Burrow, he's the estate factor, so he runs the island for the Duke of Hamilton. And there was a plague at this point, so he put on a quarantine. And he said he suspected the quarantine would never work because the smugglers, the banditti of the South End, hundreds and hundreds of young men whose entire livelihood was made about smuggling, just simply wouldn't follow it. But yeah, they were essentially, again, if the only kind of employment you had on the island was maybe working on the farms, if you're north then maybe a little bit of the fisheries, or potentially you could join the army. Again, in the 19th century, lots of people went off to join the Napoleonic Wars at this point as well. But those are all quite strict, quite hard kind of lifestyles, which didn't suit everyone. So joining a smuggling gang was essentially sticking your middle finger up at authority. So they acted in little gangs. They would then go up into the bothies, the mountains, find or get the illicit whiskey, take them down to the beaches and the ports, and then smuggle them off island from here. So down here you've got Cleet Shore, you've got Camorry Beach that way as well, and these are exactly the little places that you can imagine. So you've got Port More just down here. Port in this sense, it really just means like a small beach you can land a boat from, essentially. They intended to use a type of vessel called a wherry. Again, if you came to Arran in the early 19th century, you would have seen hundreds and hundreds of wherries just dotted about everywhere. They were quite a primitive, small wooden sailing ship. Often they were in pretty poor state of repair as well. There's a travel writer from this period who comes to Arran, and he describes the wherries as all looking as wretched little things. And they would put the whiskey on it, and they would try and get it mainly to air, straight across, basically. But they had a lot of obstacles to do it. So they would tend to sail when nobody else would sail. So usually at night time or in really stormy weather, which didn't always work. It's testament to the sort of maritime skill of Arran they were able to do this. At one point in this time, actually, Arran has more master mariners living on the island than anywhere else in Scotland. But it didn't always work out. So 1822, the day after Boxing Day, there's two brothers, Angus and Malcolm Sillars from Brodick, who are trying to take 12 casks of whiskey and smuggle them off over to the mainland. But they actually get caught in a storm. The storm demasts the ship and they begin to take on water, and eventually they capsize and they drown. So a few days later, their bodies are found washed up between Ardrossan and Saltcoats, and I think they find about 3 casks of whiskey as well. So it didn't always pan out. But the big reason they took the risk of sailing in this weather was the biggest danger they faced were the revenue cutters from the excise. So again, just over in Campbelltown, there were 7 revenue cutters that would patrol far down as the Isle of Man, and they go up far north as the Hebrides. These were big ships, they were fast, they were well gunned, and they were pretty much entirely crewed by veterans of the Napoleonic Wars. So if they caught the little wherries from Arran, there was literally nothing you could do. So you tried to avoid it as the best you could to get over to Ayr. So the very first recorded story of smuggling we have on Arran is as early as 1671. It's the 27th of April. A smuggling boat from Ireland landed in Lamlash. And at this point in time, the main thing smuggled was salt from Ireland that was then used in the fishing industry. We landed in Borwick and the smugglers got their goods off, and the local minister at this point heard this, and he was called Archibald Beef, Reverend Archibald Beef. So again, this is why I think Wild West. He gathered a group of locals, a little posse, and went to try and confiscate these goods. Didn't go quite well. The whole thing ended up in a gunfight as the smugglers grabbed their goods and again try and sail away with it. You can imagine them sailing out Lamlash Bay, you've got musket fire, you've got clouds everywhere, and in the midst of this, 2 of the smugglers were actually killed. Archibald Beef actually was arrested, sent to the High Court in Edinburgh, where he was tried for acting in a most unpastor-like manner, because apparently a man of the cloth probably shouldn't be shooting and killing people at this point. So he was actually, sentenced for murder, and he was meant to hang, but he got a last-minute reprieve, and then spent the rest of his life living as a pauper. A very infamous figure in Arran, he was known as Archibald Beef, the Reverend Slayer. But there you go. So smuggling, it's happened for years and years before the whisky even began, but it was quite a dangerous game. And initially, it was salt.
I sat down with Fred and Graham Omand, Distillery Manager, to learn more about the liquid and what they've got coming up in the exciting year ahead. We're here today in the Dramming Room at Lagg Distillery on a beautiful sunny day in April, and we've just had a very informative tour about the history of Arran, illicit distilling, all the goings-on that happened, all the shootings and everything. It's been really, really informative, and a lot of things I've never heard before at all. Just to take it back to the more modern history, could you tell us a little bit about the history of Lagg and how it all came to be?
Yeah, so Lagg, we are a pretty new distillery. We opened 2019, so it's 6 years ago. We're the same company as Isle of Arran Distillers, so you'll know Arran Whisky up at Lacranza. We opened that in 1995. Lagg is really the next chapter of that adventure. We're down the south end, and it's all about making a peated whisky, a heavily peated whisky, and to see where that goes. Yeah, right at the start.
And does the heavily peated nature of the whisky sort of hark back to the history of what was being distilled on Arran?
Yeah, I think there is. So back in the day, they would pretty much have used peat to make the whisky, so it would probably have been a peated whisky. It is a little bit more traditional. Lagg is a contrast, though. There is modernity to it. There is tradition. There is that lovely kind of romantic, historic side of the smoky peat, but there's lots of intense, grassy, earthy flavours as well. It is kind of taking that history side, but also adding a complete new side that we're now creating here as well. It's a balance of the two worlds, I think.
So for anyone that knows Arran whisky or is a fan of that style of whisky, how does it differ? What are they going to notice?
Well, the main obvious difference is that Lagg whisky is heavily peated. It's 50 ppm by standard. That puts it into kind of almost an Islay malt league. So you're talking this when people think of peated whisky in Islay, they think medicinal, they think smoky. So we're kind of going around that route, whereas compared to Lacranza traditionally has always been a non-peated distillery, and they focus on floral, smooth, sweet, estery, lots of fruity notes, whereas we're more of the kind of the darker side, sort of this is earthen, smoke, bonfire, kind of ash is kind of one of the main sort of ways I would describe it, but there's also a sweetness to the peat. It's not just all fire and brimstone.
And being a new distillery, obviously you've got a really cracking still house. You've got big picture windows either side. You can see out. It's lovely, especially today. Did you look back into history for the design of the stills, or did you sort of know what you were looking for the type of spirit that you wanted, obviously, because they impact what you're going to get?
Everything down from the mash tun to the shape of the stills to the placement of pipework was all going to go hand in hand in how we created the spirit, and so we knew from day one, even before the brickwork was put down, exactly what we were going to do with the still house and what that character we were looking for in the spirit was going to be.
Yes, we've seen earlier that when you look out from the balcony, you can see one of the barley fields from the local farm. Is that a really important part of where you're based and what people are sort of expecting?
Yes, absolutely. We take great pride in the fact that we have 2 10-hectare fields just outside the distillery that a local farmer has more or less given to us for use exclusively with our own whisky. A 10-hectare barley field on average will give us about 160 tonnes of malted barley, which will give one distillery, either Lacranza or Lagg, maybe a month's worth of malted barley. And we share it between both sites. And we found that we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and the spirit we're getting out of that, although going in the ground it is still the same malted barley, same variety that's grown up in the northeast of Scotland, it is completely different, the character we're getting out of it. It's almost like indicative of the area, the westerly wind, the salty air, even down to the soil composition. All that seems to be feeding in to this unusual whisky we're getting here, and we can proudly say that it is a 100% Arran whisky, and we are very excited for people to be eventually trying it from both distilleries.
So that malted barley that you've used to distill the whisky, is that yet to be put out to market?
Yes, we've been distilling it every year for the past a few years at Lagg, and Lockrans have been doing it as an experiment for quite a number of years before Lagg was even created. So we're slowly stockpiling this nice wee kind of treasure chest of 100% Arran malt. It will be coming to market probably soon. I can't really talk much about it right now because I think that's higher beings are deciding that before me.
And when you look at it as well, you've got your barley field and like beautiful views, and you've got some apple trees, and you're doing something quite exciting with them.
Yes, when we created Lagg, we had quite a lot of spare acreage around the field, and there was a lot of talks about, what can we do with all this? Hedge maze was one of the ideas that was thrown about, which we thought, well, why don't we actually do something that's a bit more indicative of production? So we're a drinks company, so why don't we maybe dedicate the area to apple trees? And the board jumped on it very ecstatically, and before we knew it, 2,000 apple trees were planted, and we've now gotten to a point where we're on our second cropping coming to market as cider, local Arran cider, and from what a few people have told me, it is a very small batch. We're only talking maybe 600 bottles or something like that a year, so it usually flies off the shelf within a week. But the locals really like the idea because it is the first and only ever 100% Arran cider, and a lot of people are telling me that is a fantastic thing we're doing here. It's a wee offshoot, and eventually down the road, once we have enough crop, we are hoping to evolve that from cider to an Arran apple brandy.
Nice, using casks, ex-whisky casks.
Yep, indeed, using ex-whisky casks with our own apples grown on site.
Nice, and then you can reuse them in the whisky.
Yes, that's very exciting.
So can you just tell us a little bit about the core range?
Yeah, so for Lagg, we've currently got 2 whiskies. So we have the Kilmorey edition and the Corrie Cravey edition. They're both named after villages, basically just either side of the distillery as well. In fact, Corrie Cravey is actually where I come from, so that's my home. Mum and Dad still live there, so I like seeing that on the bottle. Kilmorey, that's kind of our flagship. It's a full maturation in ex-bourbon casks, 46%, and both of them non-chill filtered, natural colour, so naturally presented. They are the way they should be. Kilmorey is everything Lagg is. It is that peat, it is that sweet, it is the grass, it is the citrus. Super fresh, super clean. Corrie Cravey starts life the same way. It's in bourbon initially, and then we finish it in sherry casks for about 6 months at the end. Slightly higher ABV, 55%, a little bit darker, a little bit earthier, a little bit more spicy, kind of sweet barbecue sauce as well.
And what can people expect when they come to Lagg?
Yeah, there's loads of things like you guys saw today. So we're down the south end, so I am biased. I think this is the nicest bit of the island. You come to the distillery, you've got stunning views in the background. You've got Ailsa Craig sticking out of the water. There's Ailsa, there's Kintyre behind us. Building itself, we've got our lovely cafe downstairs, so you can get a nice wee spot of lunch. Upstairs we have our whiskey bar, so you can have a wee dram, have a wee cocktail. There's a balcony as well out there, you can have a wee sit and enjoy the view. There's the gift shop as well, so plenty of whiskey and local souvenirs, and we have a whole bunch of tours and whiskey experiences as well. So we've got our standard tour, the Lagg Whiskey Experience, so come down, we'll show you how we make the whiskey, and you'll end in a couple of drams of that core range as well. We have our tasting, so that's stuff that's a little bit more sort of limited, so distillery exclusives, some cask samples, things that might still exist, things that might long be gone, a little bit more geeky, just kind of see the other kind of things that exist for Lagg. And then as my favourite, it's the Arran Water Tour. As we saw earlier in the podcast, that is my history tour. So we go around and we just have a look about the history, the stories, especially in the south end of Arran as well. So something for everyone, really.
Yeah, and you should see the balcony's covered.
It is, yeah. So rain or sunshine, you can come down and you'll have a good time at Lagg.
Yeah, we've just had lunch, which was the seafood platter and the meat and cheese platter. Very good. Lots of local produce. Yeah, local produce.
Yeah, local produce. Sit upstairs and just enjoy that view. Stunning, isn't it? Yeah.
Lovely, yeah. So this lovely weather has got me in mind of summer. We're obviously early spring, but we're coming into Whisky Festival season. Do you guys have anything that you want to talk about coming up in the next couple of months?
Yes, we've got our Malt and Music Festival. That happens always last weekend in June. June. So this year it's a special one because it's the 30th anniversary of Arran, Scran Distillery. So Saturday, Sunday we'll be up there. There'll be loads of cool things going on. But the Thursday and Friday down here at Lagg, we've got a few special things in the run-up to that. So we've got some interesting experiences. We're doing the normal tours as well, but there is an orchard tour and a warehouse tour. So the orchard tour, you're going to go around with Big Davy, Big Andy, our groundskeepers, who are quite some characters, and they'll tell you all about the apples and the cider. We've never done that before. And then the warehouse tours, the way Lagg's set up, you can't really normally go down to the warehouse as a part of the tour. So this is really a one-off. The warehouse guys will take you down, have a wee look at that. That's really special.
We're also going to be doing some special tastings and special releases to coincide with the event. We're actually going to be launching our third ever small batch, distillery exclusive small batch at the event, just 2 days before the festival actually begins, and it's going to be a very exciting tequila finish, which is something that not even our sister distillery has attempted yet. So it's quite a rarity for the Arran whisky world that we get a chance to show people these unusual characteristics we can get from casks that are not really known to be as common as, say, kicks of sherry or bourbon.
Have you tasted it?
Well, yes, absolutely. We actually had a fun wee panel where we kind of got a wide selection of these unusual casks at one point. You know, we were trying to, experimentation is kind of part of the nature of Lagg. We really wanted to set up this distillery in a way that we wanted to try new things, unusual things, because we're not really set in our ways yet. People don't know what to expect really of Lagg. So we got a very broad range of unusual casks, and we had a very nice afternoon with Fred and myself and a few other people from head office, and we found that out of the bunch, the cream of the crop, when there was this tequila cask, it worked so fantastically with the spirit we've got here, and I'm really excited to share that with people. I think that people will be very, very surprised at what we can get with this matching of the tequila and the Lagg spirit.
Nice. And will that be available just during the festival, or if you come over, or online? Or?
It will only be available in the shop at Lagg Distillery, and it will be launched 2 days before the festival, just on the run-up to it. I can't guarantee that it won't be sold out by the Saturday, so I would definitely recommend, if you're interested in trying one, you should get yourself over to Arran for the Malt Music Festival and line up and buy a bottle.
Nice. Well, thank you very much. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was nice to show you guys around.
Thank you. I quite fancy that tequila finish, so may have to get the Arran Malt and Music Festival in my diary. Next stop was Bellevue Farm, where I had so much fun feeding the animals and petting baby lambs. Whilst there, I met Agnes Madden, Donald Currie and Sophia Perry.
Hello there. Brought the sunshine with you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. As I'm saying, you're having a good day because you've got the scenery in both directions and you can actually see it rather than a haze coming down. So we've got the Highland cows, they're just back. They were up in the hills, up at Drummadoon. They got there for the winter just because there's more grass for them, and they've not got company then, but they're now back because they'll be getting all the company and hand feeding they can cope with. So this is the new sheds. What we're trying to do is promote the whole farm to fork experience. We've actually got people, a pioneer project. They deal with planting up community gardens, they help the schools planting the vegetables and everything, and they're actually volunteered to come up and plant up the garden this year, which is a big part of what we never get round to doing quite right. But when you have tours and things, the kids like going in and pulling their carrot to feed to the guinea pig or feed to themselves. 9 times out of 10 they won't give it to the guinea pig when they realise it's a carrot coming out the ground. You know, it's so exciting. There's also the cottages. When people stay in the cottages, they can go in and help themselves to the vegetables out the garden and cook with that as well. So in the shed, this has just been up since kind of COVID time, so maybe 3 years, 4 years, just round about that. So what we're trying to do is keep it fun for the kids, but obviously also educational for everybody else. Just basically, we've got a wee story about the milk and everybody that uses the Arran milk. There's only one dairy farm left on the island now, and it's Tainafruach. So the milk, it used to go off the island, and then they were finding it wasn't viable and they weren't getting a lot of money for it, so they've just keep it all on the island now. So what happens is the tanker from the cheese shop picks it up, and the soft cheeses are made in the building just out round the side there. So they'll take the cream to make cheeses, then it goes to make ice cream as well, and then what's left will go in the vending machines around the island for people just to bottle and use themselves.
So it's a machine where you can actually just bring your own bottle and fill up with milk?
That's one over there. We don't have milk in it at the minute, actually, because we're not opened yet, but we will have by next week. And you just get your bottle, put it in. We sell it by the cup just for the kids to taste as well. And they come for any tours or anybody that wants to try it. These were new boards. Arran's Food Journey supplied them for us, which are great. The kids were over. We did a open day for the high school kids. They do it every year. And we've got a chef in. We've got a kind of mobile kitchen area that comes out. So he cooked a meal. Then the kids go a farm tour to see the animals and see everything. Then they taste the food at the end of it, and the different hotels and businesses on the island come together to try and tell the children a wee bit about what they do to try and entice them to join in. So lamb, beef and pork is what we supply. We did do goat. We don't have any goat at present, but the goat went really, really quickly. It was really, really popular, so it was.
So Bellevue Farm was arable and livestock, but you've got more modern additions such as the educational side and the accommodation.
Yeah, so there's beef cattle as well, and we've now got the play barn, which is the educational side of it, where we're trying to do more farm to fork experiences, letting people see the animals where they've grown up and take them through the journey for ending up in our freezer basically, and then do tasting sessions where they can taste the produce as well.
It's an interesting thing because not a lot of farms are doing this, but there's probably a lot of kids who don't really have that relationship with where their food comes from.
Yeah, that's definitely noticeable in the farm tours, because Ailsa gets the kids to collect the eggs from the hens when it was in the hen house, and that was really a big thing for them, getting an egg from a hen. And also in the vegetable patch, getting the carrots out, bringing the carrots in. All that is just kind of new to some kids, which is quite shocking, really.
So what can people expect when they come to visit the farm?
We've got 2 holiday cottages, so anyone that comes to stay in the holiday cottages have full use of this indoor play barn. We've got an indoor play barn, ride-on tractors, and there's usually hay pit, crafts and things to keep the kids occupied. So it's ideal on a really wet day if you're stuck in a holiday cottage and you want somewhere for the kids to come. Ailsa does what we call farm tours, where she takes the people out and explains all the animals, the breeds, the history and all the rest of it behind them. You can do a self-guided experience, which is where you would come in, we'd give you a wee map, the animals that you should see, we'll give you some food, feed for the animals, and then you're just free to do your own thing as and when you like.
The barbecue, which we can see over here, it looks like a trailer. Can you tell us about it?
This is a trailer. This is our new all singing, all dancing barbecue, which is great. It was showcased last week out the front, actually, but it can be hooked onto quad bikes, so you could take it down the beach, you could take, if somebody was having an event, could take it down there. Numerous flavours and burgers and sausages and all things barbecue, so it's ideal to team up with that and go to some kind of event somewhere. That's the hope in the future, or bring people here more so that we can just cook stuff for them outside and they can enjoy the produce.
To the cows? Yes. So when are you open? So you're just starting to open now at the beginning of April, and when you are you open 7 days a week, or what's the...
No, we usually open Tuesdays, Fridays, Sundays, and it's bookable online. If it's a party that are wanting to book the place, we can come to some kind of arrangement, and they just book it out for that particular party. This time of year is really nice time to come because you've got the baby lambs, so there's always the feeding of the baby lambs. It surprises you how much the adults are involved in it, as well as the kids. They really do enjoy it. Right, so you can ask. This is Donald.
Hello, how you doing? All right.
Good, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Now, I think I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'm not sure about what. You're on the hot spot.
So, Donald, could you tell us about your farm? You've been here for a while.
Yes, I was brought up, born on Ireland, looking back several generations. I think I might be the 4th or 5th Donald Currie to carry on the farming. How
have you seen it develop over the years? Because obviously you've gone from traditional arable farming to the different experiences now. Yeah,
it's 10 years since we've done the barley for the distillery, but we've always grown barley to feed the cattle and sheep in the farm. I do love the crop growing the barley, etc., doing the crops on the farm and the contracting side. I don't take much to do with the farm tours.
Is that like a modern part of farming, having to diversify?
Yes, we've all got to diversify. Maybe things are looking better. There's better prices for cattle and sheep now, but certainly in the years gone by it wasn't so good. But input costs are quite high. But the distillery, they pay me a good rate, premium rate for the barley, so it's good.
So how did providing the barley for the distillery all come about?
Well, I knew the last guy, James McTaggart, quite well. He was using a few of the farms locally to spread the effluent in the fields, to help the grass grow, etc. So then we discussed about me growing some barley, and it's taken off from then. This will be 10 years, so they're about to release the Arran barley whisky this season.
And are you going to be trying it?
Probably, yeah.
It must be quite an achievement to think that it will be your barley.
It is, yes. It's a nice feeling. It is good, yes, yeah. Some years the barley's been very good results.
So is all your business based in Arran, or do you send anything off to the mainland?
Obviously the cattle and sheep go to the mainland to be sold off the farm. I do buy the draff that's a byproduct from the distilleries, and I try and sell it. Most of it goes to the mainland. I sell it across there. Some goes to island farmers, but the remainder goes to the mainland.
And that's used for feed, isn't it?
Yes, arable cattle feed mainly, yes. Yeah.
It's a kind of full circle thing. You're supplying the barley, your cows are eating the draff.
It's good. It's a great feeling, We've even spreading the effluent onto the fields to help the barley to grow. I grow the barley for the distillery and I get the byproduct back. Yeah. And it can go in the fields as well to help as a cycle, isn't it? It's
kind of the way it probably always was.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
OK, thank you.
Thank you.
This is actually a right cheeky wee cockerel. He was going for everybody's ankles, so he's in quarantine just now till he learns to behave. So, yeah, he was a bit of a nightmare. This is the cottages. These are the holiday cottages. And Jock Turkey loves to greet our guests.
Oh, wow.
So if you get Jock at your window in the morning, he's not a cockle, so he's not going to go cock-a-doodle-doo, he's just going to yobble, wobble, gobble, gobble.
Wow.
So this is two cottages here. We've changed the names now to the Snoozy Coo and the Sleepy Sheepy. So they were kind of outbuildings, and that building there is now where they make the soft cheeses. And this is us going up to the lambing shed. You'll never hear a thing of it.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Sophia.
Sophia, you help out at the farm. Can you tell us what you get up to?
So we kind of start off the day, it's just feeding, making sure, first thing I come about 7 in the morning and make sure everything's okay. If there's anything that's lambed during the night, make sure they're all happy and with their mum, and then I'll put them into their own wee pen and then get them some food and all that, and then once the sheep are all happy, we then go and feed all the other animals like the pigs and the goats and the cows and stuff like that.
And are you from a farming background?
I've got a family farm in Brodick, so just where you got the boat. It was my papa's that my mum grew up on, so I didn't grow up on the farm, but I spent my summers in Arran on the farm and stuff. But it was more beef, not so much sheep, but I prefer the sheep.
Because they're cute?
Yes, they're very cute and easier. I think they're easier. Not as scary. I think the cows are a bit too big for me and a bit scary.
So this is obviously a really busy time for you, it's springtime.
Yeah, very busy. But it's good. There's always something to do, keeps you on your toes. I just think it's so nice, it's so rewarding when the lambs come out and they're healthy, happy, and the mum's got lots of milk, and then you can put them out in the field and you watch them all having wee races with each other. It's just the best.
And what about when the kids come up?
So when the kids come up, hopefully we have a few pet lambs. So we make up bottles and they all get to have a wee shot at hand feeding them and bottles and stuff. That's dead fun.
I mean, it's the type of thing that, like we were saying earlier, not a lot of kids get to do.
No, not at all. And I think you can see how happy it makes them. And it's just the cutest. A wee tiny person with a wee bottle and a lamb. It's just the best thing ever. Just the best.
And would you like to stay on Arran?
Yeah, so I'm helping just now. I've got a few sheep of my own at home in Brodick. I've just finished my degree there in agriculture, so I don't know what I'm going to do. It's kind of a few months off, I think, and then I'll try and figure out what I'll do later. It's just great. When the sun shines, it's just an amazing place to be. The community and everything is just great. There's always somebody there if you need a hand, or there's just always something to do. It's just great.
I'm beyond excited, so shall we go and see some sheep?
Yeah, Come on then.
Well, if I was desperate to hold the baby lamb,
Yeah.
can we accommodate her?
This one was born this morning. You can hold him like you would a wee dog.
So I would just want to keep one like this though. Oh, it's so cute.
Those ones are maybe an hour. There's one up the top that was actually born 10 minutes ago. And sometimes you've got like 2, 3 at once and it's all go a bit stressful. But
Thank you very much for showing us around, Agnes. It's been brilliant, and I would encourage anyone to come and see all the animals.
It's been great speaking to you, and I hope you do come back someday yourself.
Thank you. Hi James, we're here in your lovely shop, which smells amazing. Could you just tell us a little bit about how you came to set up the Arran chocolate shop?
Well, yeah, I just used to make sweets when I was a kid for Christmas, like a lot of people. 20 years later, decided to start making chocolates, and then we got the opportunity for this shop became available, so we started the business and started from there.
And you've been here for quite a long time?
25 years next week.
So what kind of things were you making?
Well, we just started off with a sort of basic range, doing strawberry and cherry, sort of some plain bars, milk bars, dark bars, and we just built it up over the years. Some of it was old favourites, or some of it was flavours that people asked for that came into the shop. So, yeah.
And did you teach yourself, or did you train to become like a chocolatier?
I had a bit of training, but yeah, a lot of long days and mistakes. It's a very practical job, so you kind of have to just get on and do it.
A lot of long days, mistakes, and a lot of eating chocolate.
Somebody has to.
So can you talk us through, we're standing here in your shop and there's a window to the kitchen and we can see someone making chocolate. Can you talk us through the process?
Sure. Well, you can see Jan is currently making the shells. So we run the mould under the chocolate, fill the mould with chocolate, and then take the air bubbles out, and you'll see Jan turn the mould upside down to take the excess chocolate out, which leaves us with a shell. Once that's set, we can then fill the moulds with whatever it is, whether we're doing violet today and we're doing orange, and we're doing champagne and ginger.
There's chocolate coming out of what looks like a tap. I'm assuming that's like tempered chocolate?
It is, yeah.
There's a big sink of chocolate basically, which would be appealing to a lot of people to just, I don't know, dip their head in. So when people come to the shop, what can they expect? Do you do any tours or tastings or things?
Well, as you can see, we've got the window into production. The sink of chocolate you were talking about, it's got 25 kilos of chocolate in it. That always puts a smile on people's face.
And have you seen flavours evolve over the years? So things that were popular maybe 10, 15 years ago have kind of gone out of fashion, or how's it evolving?
We try not to get involved in fashion. People like what we do, so we stick with the traditional ones. We do things like peanut butter with chocolate and jam, a wee bit unusual. Champagne and ginger is a bit unusual as well, but people also like the strawberry creams and hazelnuts and all that. And
we just said this before we started, but the pistachio Dubai chocolate trend, you've had pistachio for a while.
That was one of the first ones we did, yeah.
Ahead of the game. You're standing, you've got shelves of bags of chocolate nuts and fruits as well as boxes. So what kind of products do you do seasonally, and with it being Easter coming up, what is popular?
Well, yeah, Easter is coming up, so lots of Easter eggs, Easter bunnies, all that sort of thing. Obviously, later in the year it'll be Christmas, doing all the Santas and all that kind of stuff. But we're doing about maybe 80 or 100 different products at any time.
And for anyone that can't visit, do you have an online business and do you ship off the island?
Yeah, we do. We've got a big sort of mail order business, so people can order online or give us a phone.
Do you have a favourite chocolate?
Yeah, nibbed hazelnut and soft caramel.
That sounds really good. We're going to try some chocolate now, the nibbed hazelnut and soft caramel praline, which sounds right up my street.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
And it looks like it's got a knot pattern. That's another thing. How did you come up with what they look like on the top?
Well, a lot of these are really traditional. So it goes way back to sort of traditional Belgian chocolates. Originally, each shape would have been a specific flavour. So people would have known, no matter what shop they went to, that was a strawberry or that was a cherry or whatever. So.
Do people now still recognise that, or has that kind of been lost?
No, that's definitely been lost, yeah. There's always new ones coming out, but a lot of them are traditional. So.
This is nutty, not too nutty, sweet, not too sweet, but a really good combination. The caramel's not really squidgy, which is quite nice, so it's almost like a mini I don't want to say Mars bar because it's nicer than that, but like it's like a mini like little dessert. Lovely, really good.
Thank you.
You've also got traditional sweets, which you don't actually see that often anymore. So do people get surprised when they come in and be like, get some sour plumes?
Oh, definitely, yes. Really popular, still really popular. I think because you don't see them everywhere, you know, that, so like say sour plumes or some of the new ones like Iron Brew specials were really popular with the kids.
Yeah, you're in an ideal position just being on the main street as people come off the boat. Do people wander in and are quite pleasantly surprised?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Brilliant location, just a couple of 100 yards from the boat. So we get all the day trippers as well. Usually catch them twice when they're on their way to climb Goat Fell and on the way back. So.
Reward themselves with some chocolate.
Yes.
There's one here, so obviously slabs of chocolate that can be decorated with whatever you want, like happy birthday, but one here, I nearly climbed Goat Fell, but ... Is that quite popular?
That's very popular, but so's the one behind it that says I climbed Goat Fell. So we cover both bases.
And do you work with any other businesses on the island?
Yeah, we do. We supply quite a few of the shops, and we also do a bespoke range for both the distilleries, and they also use them for their whisky pairings.
So did you have a good time trying to work out how to pair chocolate with whisky?
Yes. We also use their Arran Gold whisky cream liqueur, which works really well with the chocolate. It's a really good combination.
We had some of the chocolates yesterday that were lovely. Well, thank you very much. It's been a delicious start to the day.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to everyone I spoke to on the podcast. If you want to find out more about visiting Arran and its wonderful food and drink, please visit www.arransfoodjourney.com.